Grab 2022 by the horns and succeed. Are you curious about what will happen to the financial markets and the global economy in 2022? Are you worried about your job, assets, investments, or debts? Will there be a strong global rebound and growth, or will the world enter into a recession? Stay tuned and get expert answers. Welcome to the World Econ News, your daily dose of economics and finance. If you're interested in topics influencing the world's economies and global financial flows, this is the place for you. Watch till the end if you want to get the latest on everything. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button to get the latest updates. Let's go. Congratulations! You are a survivor and a tough cookie. You've made it through yet another hard year filled with economic uncertainty, COVID lockdowns and restrictions, and most importantly, skyrocketing prices and economic uncertainties. Seriously, give yourself a tap on the back. So, you're curious about what the global economy and financial markets will look like in 2022. You've probably heard and seen plenty of coverage about this topic, and they're all talking about the same stuff, in different ways. It seems they all have the same sources, and they're not doing a little extra digging and analysis. But you're in luck. You've stumbled upon our channel, where we simply do not give people doses of relaxants or shocks just to keep them interested in watching, but we rather give them hard facts, both good or bad. The kind of info and stuff that will not only make you wiser in maneuvering the markets and economy, but also more resilient in the face of negativity. In this video, I'll start with a short recap of 2021, followed by a summary of economic predictions for 2022. Let's start by asking a question. What's the one and only factor that caused the global economy and financial markets to struggle in recent years? Yes, you've got it right, COVID-19 and its variants. Since COVID-19 is still around and the new variants are still popping up every now and then, it's literally impossible to predict if the global economy recovery that sort of began in 2021 will continue, stall, speed up, slow down, or come to a complete halt. Regardless of what the governments, IMF, World Bank and the US Fed say, do not bank only on their words and promises, because they're just as reactive as the public. Instead, bank on yourself and your ability to gain new skills, diversify your portfolio, stay positive, and increase your risk assessment skills. As of this moment, COVID-19 and its variants, or the lethality of potential failure variants, are the elephants, or rather the monster, in the room. Of course, we're all hoping that this monster will vanish. There is some good news here. According to scientists, the recent Omicron variant is less lethal than its predecessor, Delta, which, according to scientists, means the virus is evolving to not kill the host. Hence, future variants are expected to be even milder. Cases are expected to surge in January 2022 due to the holidays and new celebrations and the more contagious Omicron variant. However, high death rates or high numbers of patients in need of oxygen are not expected. As for your finances, just do what the experts advise. Put your money in stable assets, upgrade your skills, get educated about the decentralized world of crypto, NFTs, metaverses, and blockchain, create a little savings pot for a rainy day, and buy some government bonds. They're nice and safe during uncertain times, and for Santa's sake, diversify your portfolio. And please only take calculated risks you can afford and build accordingly. Now, with your permission, I'd like to add something here. Please do not bank on the bankers. They are unpredictable and just like any other business, after your money. And they will take all your savings and house if they could. Don't judge me, they do it all the time. What? You've not heard of foreclosures? Alright, let's move on and explore what most experts and analysts are forecasting for 2022. Number 1. COVID. It is still around, but the world economy is more resilient than ever. Indeed, the world is getting over COVID, and businesses of all sizes are maneuvering around it pretty well. They're no longer influenced by the concept of having to shut down operations, and they have formulated all sorts of plans to deal with any new development, no matter how negative. Number 2. There is a big potential for the economic rebound that began in 2021 to turn into a full recovery in 2022, on the condition that no new lethal COVID variant appears and governments do not hit the brakes too hard on the monetary policies. Experts believe that central banks should take their time with ending the purchase of bonds and MBS while slowly and gradually increasing the interest rate. Number 3. Always count on greed. Corporations and top investors are aware of the recent high demand levels in 2021, which are expected to continue well into 2022. They're also aware that the government's corporate welfare checks will stop somewhere mid-2022 or even before. Hence, they're beginning to invest heavily in resolving all supply-demand chain issues in order to catch up with demand and lower prices in order to avoid a recession. Government cannot handle a recession due to insane debt levels. Number 4. The news from the world's biggest factory, China, for 2022 is good. The Chinese government managed to resolve serious issues in 2021, issues such as the reliance of corporations on the government in case they defaulted. China also introduced new tough corporate borrowing and bond issuing rules in order to curb overborrowing and bankruptcies due to debt. It's also moving its corporate giants and big investors from focusing on real estate development to the technology sector, among other sectors that are in need of attention and investment. A few other countries are doing the same, hence it's a global phenomenon that, according to experts, is resolving a long overdue supply chain. Number 5. Despite the new massive accumulated debts by many governments around the world, the issue of increased government debts due to unique situations, such as the response to COVID, is being looked at differently by central banks, governments themselves, and the big financial institutions. They're simply not sounding alarms nor calling for panic, and not even discussing the issue, which was raised in the US and many other countries. There's something brewing, and it's not clear yet. However, this is good news. Number 6. Big financial institutions, banks, and even central banks cannot afford to play with their tails and screw everyone over as they did in 2008-2009. Why? Well, because they changed, the system changed, the media changed, and no one will put up with their crap. This time it's different. Jail times are guaranteed for the super wealthy and slick super bankers who play the system and mess around with people's savings and pension funds. Number 7. There are more calls than ever by high-ranking government officials and advocacy groups to tax the super-rich more and fix the rigged tax systems which allow the wealthy to avoid paying taxes by simply keeping all their wealth invested in stocks, options, bonds, other securities, real estate, and shadowy operations in and through tax havens. Such mobilization can lead to more accountability, transparency, and justice. Yes, justice. Why should you get paid little and pay taxes while the rich hide billions under their pillows and not pay taxes? Where is the justice and fairness in that? Number 8. Here is another fact that's hard to digest, but is also a good sign for 2022. Since COVID began, the number of billionaires around the world more than doubled, while the wealth of most who were billionaires before COVID also doubled and in some case tripled. Ask an expert to give you a decent explanation for that phenomenon because I cannot get one, except that they milked the governments and exploited the situation. Nevertheless, the more billionaires there are, the more investments and innovation you can expect because they want to make more money. Let's now talk about economic growth. In 2021, the global economy grew by 6.6%. The world's rich countries experienced an inflation rate between 6 to 10% depending on the country. According to Wall Street and a whole load of other similar streets in various nations, the expected global economic growth rate for 2022 is expected to be around 4.5%, which is an economically sound and good percentage. As for the inflation rate, no one is willing to put his reputation on the line and drop a number. However, the central banks collectively agree that it might drop to 2.3, which is great news. If you're lucky enough to live in one of the 80 rich to somewhat rich countries, then you should expect great things or at least reasonably good levels of stability, regardless of COVID, and the level of government tapering. However, if you live in one of the 120 poor or very poor countries, expect things to be the same or worse. Why? Well, according to the World Bank, the IMF, and the World Food Programme, the number of poor people who live on less than $1.25 per day, which is not enough to buy a litre of milk, increased in the past 2 years by more than 200 million people to reach 1 billion people. That being said, there is also always hope that governments around the world will increase cooperation and sharing in 2022, not just in terms of vaccine distribution, but also in terms of wealth distribution and the war on inequality. Would you like to learn more about what influences the world economies and global financial flows? Click on one of the videos that shows up on the left or go to our channel to find other interesting topics. See you next time.